Nothing has changed in the physical environment. It's still just the same floor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
so that would be.
You just said you saw the video before, but then you just claimed earlier that there is no way to have bottom-up construction on a planar surface.
Because that's not analogous to what we see out in like the Earth day to day. That's literally you're making an extreme condition where something can happen, and then you're saying because it can happen under this extreme condition, it is what we see out there under completely different conditions, and that doesn't follow. That's just logical.
Why would it be an extreme condition? It would just be if you have like the pebbles in the pond was in like kind of like a warehouse type place, and all he did was just open the door and allow some cool air to come in. There's just a little bit of cool air. That's not extreme at all, and that's actually what would make sense when the sun is moving. You'd have differential between warm and cool air.
Exactly.
Yeah, if that was the case, then when you went up high, that would go away. But that doesn't happen. So extreme condition. You've set it up purposefully in order to obtain a single observation of this thing without making it analogous to multiple observations that you have on Earth, like going up high.
How high?
Completely get rid of those conditions, or
How
if there
high?
wasn't a temperature differential.
How high? It's important.
Well, I have a video of the sunset from a mountaintop over the water, and the sun gets cut in half, and you can see the sun hit the bottom of the clouds. And so I'd take, I don't know, anything from
Can we talk about terrestrial
10-story
objects?
building up would be fine for this.
Can we talk about terrestrial objects for now? Since we can tangibly verify terrestrial objects because we can go there and verify like what they are.
Well, I'd say go on a hill. Anything that would be, even the roof of your house should get rid of this problem. Like the videos you're talking about, they're all really low to the ground.
It's in a garage.
Okay. Is it really low to the ground?
Bro, it's in a garage, bro.
Like this is why.
Yeah, so is the camera like 2 meters high, or is the camera?
It's gonna keep growing, bro. You're gonna help it keep growing. Do you really want that?
Yeah. So is this video? Is the camera on a tripod in the center of the room, looking at a light that's also in the center of the room?
It's on the floor of those of the garage.
There we go. Exactly. You've created an extreme condition.
It's in a garage.
Okay, you can keep repeating that. I don't understand why you're still repeating that to me.
It's in a controlled environment, dog. Hello?
Yeah, one where you controlled it to get the conclusion that you wanted instead of what we observe every day out in reality.
What do you mean? He opened up the door and let cold air in.
While having the camera as low to the ground as possible so that everything from like the aperture for the camera would affect the way that the light enters the lens.
Oh man! You know the globe side will
conditions
use
purposefully.
They will use like a negative 200-degree like gas on a pipe to prove their point. Something that would never exist in like real life conditions, but then we show like a door opening in a garage.
They can't handle it.
They're
freaking out.
Special pleading, manipulated the results, control.
What am I wrong about?
Special environment.
Okay,
extreme conditions.
What am I wrong about, guys?
Extreme
CGI garage.
He opened the window.
all right, bro. Dogs.
No, are you guys
throw you a bone.
away
I'm gonna throw you a bone. I'm gonna throw you a bone, bro.
You're just walking away from it, just to be clear.
No, we're not. No, we're not, dude. I'll throw you a bone.
Okay, great.
Let me throw you a bone for real. So the topic was bottom-up obstruction. Okay, you said that there's no way to have bottom-up obstruction on a planar surface. Oh, you don't want to have a decent conversation, bro?
Yeah, just let him finish, bro. You can go next. Just let him finish, and then you have your full time. We'll listen to both of you. You guys go back and forth. I don't have to.
I'm in no hurry, bro.
Okay, go ahead, but you're just going to rehash everything, and it's boring. Just like give an answer.
Oh, come on, dude. Let him say his thing and respond. I mean, come on. That's why you're here, right? No? Come on.
We came to the crux of the argument.
He likes to debate because he's like a debate bro on the internet. He's not here to actually talk about it.
Go ahead. Do your thing, Beasticles. Like, do your thing, okay?
Well, you better be listening because you got to respond, man. Get ready.
It's just simple. I'm just simply rehashing our conversation so far. You said there's
exactly.
No
you're going to rehash the conversation we're both here for, and it's boring.
Patience is a virtue.
It's for people in the audience, dog, just so we can have some clarity instead of just
it's so you can reframe the whole conversation to claim some victory at the end. That's what you're going to do.
All right.
I predicted it. So I'll go on mute and I'll let you talk for a whole minute if you want, but I've already predicted exactly what you're going to do.
Man, dude, you need to go to the gym, bro. Let some of that out. That's crazy. I was just trying to rehash the conversation. All right. You said there's no way to have planar or bottom-up extrusion on a planar surface. I brought up the Sky Free videos because he was able to replicate it in a controlled environment in a garage where the variable that he introduced was cold air by opening up a door, and voila, it appeared to have bottom-up extrusion on the light. Therefore, that means that there is bottom-up extrusion possible on a planar surface. So the claim that you can't have bottom-up extrusion on a flat Earth goes out the window. The end.
See, that's where you're wrong. That final part, the conclusion there, doesn't follow from the premises. So premises would be you can, through extreme conditions, cause bottom-up obstruction in a controlled setting where you're extremely close to the ground. The thing you're looking at is extremely close to the ground, and there's some massive variable change introduced such that the path of light is changed, okay? That is true. That's fine. That means that you can force that thing to happen in certain extreme conditions. But then it doesn't follow that that could happen on the flat Earth, because those extreme conditions, and you'd admit this, are not always present. You're not always extremely low to the ground when doing
Why do you
observations.
keep saying
Anything off in
extreme?
the distance. I'm sorry, I'm just going to finish talking. You're not extremely close to the ground, so you're not like lying sideways on the ground with your eyes like touching the dirt, and you're also not having these massive temperature differentials for all observations. A lot of the time, you can go up high and you can have there be a clear day where there's not a lot of temperature change between where you are on top of a hill or even like high in a building and something off in the distance, and you can get the bottom-up obstruction at that time, which doesn't follow that you'd get that from the extreme conditions of being close to the ground with a massive temperature change.
Anyone count how many times he said extreme there? All right, dude, we're talking about a garage. What's extreme?
You've said that 20
garage?
times now. Do you want to say a garage again to me?
Well, do you want to say extreme conditions 15 times?
Am I not right, though? Is it not an extreme condition to be literally lying on the
No! It's in a garage. It's in a controlled environment. That's the point.
What do you think the term extreme condition means?
Well, here, I actually have it ready for you guys. Okay, ready in the chat. I'm going to post it right now. Now, there is the full. I could, yeah, I could share it, or I could stream it as well. But, well, I'll just post it real quick though, because this is timestamped as well.
Okay.
There's actually like the full Pebbles in the Pond video and the whole thing. However, this Sky Free video has a cut of it, and it's only a cut of it. But anyways, if you start right at that timestamp, it shows the one where it shows his garage, shows the lights, and then simply shows all it's doing is opening and closing the garage door. It's that simple. There's no extreme conditions. There's no extreme temperatures or anything. It's just quite stable. And then he has a camera right down close to it, and you see that just by raising and lowering and just the temperature changes, you get complete bottom-up obstruction that blocks the lower light and makes it to where you can't see it.
Yeah. How often do we have those conditions in nature? How often do we have that the air close to the ground is much colder than the air higher up?
Probably often when the moon comes in and cools the air after the sun warmth.
Hold on. I can answer that.
I mean, I have those conditions in the morning, because like in the morning, all the like the hot air will come in and actually kind of like blow all it'll actually like push all the cold air off of the ground, and it'll sweep all the cold air into the city. Makes it really cold for like a few hours.
To answer that question directly, though, is it cold over the surface of water?
Not necessarily.
My question.
It can be.
My question is just how often are you lying dead flat on the ground, staring off in the distance to check if something's bottom up? How many of those observations exist out there in the open?
Maybe staring at boats going over the horizon.
The answer's no.
Yep. Exactly. Because there's nothing about like this setup that he shows there. Like there's nothing. Like the camera doesn't change. You can already see both of the colored lights at both elevations. before anything. So like clearly there's no curvature in there. There's no extreme refraction. You're just looking. You have line of sight, especially over that short distance. I don't even think anyone could really even argue for any like refraction over that short of a distance. I mean,
it's like in the garage.
What do you think the temperature
Yeah.
change did? How did that change things?
Well, yeah, it seems like when the cool air
attenuated the
came,
light. Yeah.
when the cool air came in, it seems to have created this entire like layer that created a whole blend layer that does
Refraction?
exactly, it does what we
Yeah.
see. Like
So there's no
like
refraction, but
mirroring
there's
and
refraction.
what's that?
He's just doing debate
There's
tactics.
no refraction, but there's refraction. That's what you just said to me.
You don't have an argument, dude.
Okay, my argument is that you're never lying directly on the ground to make observations, and that there are no observations of this phenomena from slightly above the ground, which is where we walk around in nature and we see things obstructed bottom up, above the ground, not lying directly on the ground, where like the lens and the aperture can cause the light to come in badly at the bottom. And as Gio just said, there was some massive change to the air temperature that just somehow changed the path of the light, but it wasn't refraction. Can't have been refraction. There was no massive refraction introduced. It was just some other thing that happens when you change the temperature of air and it changes the path of light.
It doesn't change the observation that was made in a garage by opening and closing a door. Bottom up obstruction was replicated. So,
can you repeat what I just said, like in simple terms, back to me? Like
no one puts an observation. No one has their eyes laying on the ground. People walk up around, and that's when we see things in nature. So it's not the same.
Great. So if that's true,
this is over like 30 feet. Well, hold on. This is like 30 feet or whatever, so or 100, whatever, 60 feet, whatever this distance is right here. It's obviously you can tell it's not like too far and whatnot. But in reality, you're looking over miles and miles. So yeah, I mean, this is like a small scale. The thing is, this has been replicated in many other ways. Like Sky Free themselves have done like that one little timestamp is just a few second little clip there. That's from the Pebbles in the Pond one. That's why I just grabbed it. But Sky Free on their channel as well. They've done a bunch of other ones awesome ones that really show it. Like they have these little like figures that look like buildings, and oh my gosh, they replicate all of the bottom up obstruction, everything we see, and all they're doing is just temperature changes. And it's all of this able to be replicated over without any other obstruction of line of sight. And you get all of these effects we see on the horizon, the bottom up, all of it. It's pretty cool to see.
Gio, I'd like to come to a middle ground.
Is there a single
dogs? Let's come to a middle ground. I got you.
No, just give me a sec. Is there a single observation that isn't lying directly on the ground or on a table or half obscured by a table or incredibly low down? Do you have a single observation of that?
Yes, many. But let's let Beasticles go, and then we can.
I just kind of want to have a middle ground. I just want a middle ground, even whatever. We'll just have a middle ground here. Okay. So, will you admit that bottom up obstruction is not exclusively caused by Earth curvature?
Yes. Will you admit that bottom up obstruction can't happen on a flat Earth just by showing it happens in a barn? That doesn't follow?
No.
Can I rephrase that?
Okay, can you give
a
logical conclusion
it's not really
based off the premises you saw this happen in a garage, therefore this is a conclusion? Can you give me any argument that follows?
The question, though?
Well, it shows it can be replicated on a small scale without any curvature of Earth.
That's with completely different conditions to what we have on Earth. That's what I keep saying that no one's addressed.
Can I rephrase the question? Can we have bottom-up obstruction without Earth curvature or inferior mirage? No.
What?
Oh, dude, that's
wait.
funny.
What?
He answered his own question.
Can we have bottom-up obstruction without Earth curve or inferior mirages?
Or inferior mirage.
Earth curve.
Right.
What are you claiming is an inferior mirage? The Sky Free video? The Pebbles and what's the Pebbles and what?
Sky Free does film a lot of inferior mirages, yes.
Pebbles in the Pond.
Yeah, or whoever does. They get close to the surface and they have a relatively warm surface and then a cooler thing above it creates inferior mirage.
But do you know why this is like pertinent in the conversation period, right?
No, let's go back.
Well,
it isn't.
Because boats going over the horizon and disappearing bottom up is a supposed curvature claim, right? That's a curvature proof.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And it still is, right? Because all you've
No.
shown is that if you have conditions that don't exist when you're walking around looking at boats out there, then in those conditions you can end up with bottom up obstruction without there being curve. But those conditions aren't out there in like our day-to-day life. So you've created conditions, you've manipulated the conditions in order to get the result you want, not to match the conditions that we see out there in day-to-day life. So the result doesn't tell you anything about day-to-day life.
Completely incorrect what you're saying there. Completely incorrect what you're saying. And the idea
it's fine.
that
I'm done now, I think.
ships disappearing over the curvature proves globe, that also is a misconception. But I'll let my man carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all good. It's just, I don't know. I don't even know what you're arguing. I mean, if we have an example, right, where you scale down the observation, right, you're scaling it down to where you know for a fact that the floor, the surface, you know for a fact that that is flat at that distance. Can we agree on that? The reason why they use the garage in that setting is because they know it's flat at a certain distance indefinitely. Boom, we know it. We've measured it. It's flat at this distance, right?
I can agree the garage is flat. Can you agree that the conditions inside the garage don't match the conditions out there day to day?
Well, hold on. What before you continue?
I very happily agreed with what you said. Now, can you agree with what I said, please? Yes or no?
Yeah, but I'm not doing tit for tat yet. I just kind of want to go down this path just so we can have an understanding. And then I'll answer your question once you repeat it again.
Why don't you just ask it now? Are the conditions the same within the garage?
No, because dude, I'm on a line of questioning here, bro.
Why don't you let him finish his explanation, please? Let him finish his explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, dogs. Just treat it like
level surfaces can obscure. Level surfaces can obscure. Let him explain, please.
Yeah, so he asked me a question. I answered that question truthfully, and then I asked him one, and he didn't want to answer it. I thought it was just fair. I made him answer it.
Well, let him finish. It sounds like let him finish. Just treat it like an interview, his question. Let him fully finish, and then respond. Is that cool?
Yeah, we don't have to make it debate style, brother. Like, I don't care. Like, I just want.
Oh, okay. The giggling and laughing at me before and all that sort of shit. Like, it's fine.
Well, because you kept saying extreme.
You asked me 50 questions without ever having to take that one dig. Go ahead.
Well, don't interrupt and kind of just be chill and like let people respond, and that won't really be.
Yeah, the reason why this is pertinent is because we know it's flat in the garage, right? 60 or 100 feet, whatever it was, right?
Yeah. What's your next question?
Okay. Now the thing that was observed, right? What was it, Gio? What was it at the end of the garage?
Well, they basically just had like a little rack of lights, and it had like a green light and a kind of more of a pink light, and they were at slightly different heights. And all they did is like basically open the garage, and the cool air came in, and it created just this effect where you get this bottom up obstruction, and to where the light that's the lower altitude on the right cuts off entirely, and you get that bottom up effect, and you see it kind of warping, just like we see the horizon at Skunk Bay doing that as well.
Right. And also the conditions of the garage were stable before the cold air was introduced. Right? You have a stable baseline. I can see the lights. I'm 60 feet away. I'm 100 feet away. And the camera was what, a foot off the ground? An inch? What was it, directly laying on the ground? Gio?
It's directly laying on the ground.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to give the number because I don't know if I remember it off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, it was like quite low to the ground. Like, if not, it may have been like a few inches above the ground. I mean, you can kind of tell how.
Right.
You can definitely see the lights. I mean, clearly, like before the temperature change, you can see the whole rack. I mean, so.
Yeah, at least an inch or two off the ground, just for the lens's sake. Let's just put it that way. All right. So it's off the ground, about an inch or two, staring at these rack of lights, 60 to 100 feet away. We know it's flat. The conditions are stable because it's in a garage. It's controlled. Now we introduce the Atmos, right? Opening the garage. Now a cold layer of air falls on the ground, and we get bottom-up obstruction.
Yep.
Right. You've got a warm surface, and you've just introduced cold air. Light's going to.
You guys just have to concede this. If you want to have any intellectual integrity moving forward, it's just a requirement, basically.
Yeah, we can go on to a new point.
So is this it? Are you guys just going to you're just going to talk to each other? I've got this question sitting here. Are those conditions the same as we see out there in reality?
Well, no, if you want to respond, you can. I guess I started piping up, and Ruhif is too. We can chill. If you want to let him...
That's all fine. That's not the problem. The problem is that you made me stop asking him this question. He dodged this question, and now it seems like you guys are finding a way to get away from this question. So the question remains, well, are the conditions out there, like looking at the windmills far away or a tower off in the distance that's half obscured, are they similar in scope, in differential of temperature, in distance off the ground as that video in the garage? Did I cut out? Am I gone?
No, I got you.
Are the conditions of the Atmos outside the same as what was proposed in the garage?
Yeah, specifically the differential. So do we walk around with our eyes on the ground, like literally touching the ground, and do we walk around with this massive temperature differential out in like a normal day where you're seeing a mountain that's below your eye line when you're lower than the mountain?
Dude, the conditions of the day change throughout the day, and it depends on the observer.
Okay, so you're not going to answer that question. That's it. You've walked away. We're done with this.
Can I answer this question? Can I answer this question quickly, please? Because I understand it. Basically, what my colleague is trying to say to you is this: a leveled surface will always obstruct, regardless of the conditions. So obviously, the conditions in the garage are completely different to the conditions at sea. Okay, that's a given. I'm not even going to argue that. But the point is, if we could simulate the conditions of the sea in the garage, the phenomena is still going to... that a leveled surface is going to obstruct. That's what's going to happen. So regardless.
Well, it's amazing that we can replicate it. Yeah, because we can replicate it in this small of a setting, which is incredible. Because when you think about it, to be able to do that in that, in a way where
it's incredibly easy because you can manipulate everything.
Close of an environment when you can already replicate that to where you can see, before the cool air is introduced, you can see the whole rack of lights, the green and the pink, all the colors. You see them all there. And over that short of a range, you can literally just walk it with you can take a measuring thing physically. You can just see that it is a straight line of sight. And clearly when there's the refractive effect is not quite happening yet, when the temperature is a certain type of temperature, warmer, a little bit warmer, it seems, it was like more where you could just easily see the whole rack of lights. And then once they open the garage door, the cool air comes in, and then you get the complete bottom-up obstruction. So it just shows, like, obviously there's no earth curve there. There's no curve. You can measure it all physically.
I don't get why you rehashed that whole thing, Gio. We already know. You've already explained that to us twice. But no one is willing to answer truthfully that we don't have the extreme conditions within that garage out there when we're walking around doing observations of bottom-up obstruction. So it doesn't follow that this observation shows that it's possible on a flat Earth.
Bro, you say extreme conditions.
And that's it. We're done.
Extreme conditions are not required.
We're done. No, it's fine. We're done.
You guys, hold on. We got to go one at a time.
I've given you a reason it doesn't follow, and you guys are just quibbling.
You just spoke. Okay, thank you. Chill. Go ahead.
I just don't know why you're getting so bent out of shape, dude. Literally.
Because you asked me a question, I answered your question truthfully, and then I asked you a question, and you're doing everything you can not to answer it. And that's fine. You've walked away from it. We're done here. Gio's going to rehash the whole thing for a third time, and you're going to dodge my question again. So you guys have a good time.
All right, I'll take over.
Thank God, dude. Jesus. You take over, Ruhif. At least you won't fucking get your knickers in a bunch.
We're not going to have this with Ruhif. I've got something to talk about, by the way, Gio. Amelia Earhart. I've got some news,
So this this observation's at Sky.
Hold on, Jin. Okay. Hold on, Jin. We'll get. Okay, let's maybe Ruhif did jump in first, Jin. So let's let him do his thing, and then, or whatever, or Beasticles. What was the point you were saying? Because I actually kind of wanted to hear.
My point.
Yeah. Do you remember your point?
Yeah, my point was that he said that bottom-up obstruction can't happen over a planar surface. That's why we even brought up those. What?
What did I say in response to that?
Ruhif says it does, right?
Well, what I said, outside of outside of the Earth curve and outside of inferior mirages, no, bottom-up obstruction cannot happen.
Outside of Earth curve.
And inferior mirages.
What does
So
that
why
mean?
does that matter if they're claiming that the inferior mirage is what we're observing?
Right.
Well, inferior mirages can block the bottom of things, but then you have an inferior mirage, right? So,
but that's what they're saying is the explanation.
I agree. Yeah.
So that
if
means
we
the
show you an
curvature is not the
observation,
only explanation for bottom-up obstruction, which means that bottom-up obstruction is not proof of Earth curvature.
if I show you an observation with bottom-up obstruction that does not have an inferior mirage, then yes, it's Earth curvature.
No, you're not. You're not listening. That's that 4D disorder again. Get out of here.
Well, I don't know
That's
whether
a good-
you take 4Ds.
That's good logic.
How many
I wanna
holes
see
do you have? There's only 3,
Wow.
right?
What?
Yeah. I don't know,
Anyway.
dude. This is getting wild, Geo. Bunch of
Okay,
source
I know.
errors all around, man.
I know.
So
dude.
the only causes of
we
bottom-up
can just say we don't
obstruction-
really want to talk with them if we want. You know, we could just be like,
yeah.
talk about something else.
The only ways things can be obstructed bottom up is inferior mirages and Earth curve. If we show you an observation of bottom up obstruction that does not have an inferior mirage, it's Earth curve.
What?
What do you mean?
How does that not make sense to you
You're
guys?
ignoring the garage experiment.
more simply to put it.
You're ignoring. You are ignoring the garage experiment that proves that it's not conditions that is blocking the object that we're looking at.
I'm explaining the garage experiment.
Sorry?
It never has
I'm
to be Earth curve
explaining.
is the thing, dude. It never has to be.
Yeah, sorry.
It never requires it.
This observation of the garage and then opening the door for the cold air coming in, you've got the warm concrete or whatever the surface is, and then the cold air above it creates extreme upward refraction, which gives you an inferior mirage. That's why the light
could
disappears.
happen in a vacuum. It would happen in a vacuum, man. In a vacuum.
How does light change direction in a vacuum?
A flat surface in a vacuum, you would still see the bottom-up obstruction. In a vacuum.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
You would. Yes, you would.
Demonstrate it then, Jin.
You would.
Demonstrate it.
I don't know about.
You'd see that a leveled surface. You have a vacuum chamber and you put your camera there, and you would observe that the table would obstruct that coin as you move it across the length.
Oh,
I'm telling you now that the atmos, you're hanging on the atmos. That's not going to help you. Okay. So
Listen,
you need to do that.
Do you
for
understand?
Yourself.
You're talking about the Mitchell from Australia coin disappearing trick, aren't you? Yeah.
I'm not talking about that, but
all right,
dude,
you're talking about the warm surface and the cold air above it.
It's the crux of the argument. One of the crux being ships disappear bottom up because of Earth curvature.
Yes.
When you're looking at it, okay, that's a claim.
Yes.
Right? Now, to falsify that claim, right, all I need to do is show one example of bottom-up obstruction that's not happening because of curvature, because of the surface curving. If I have a flat surface and I show bottom-up obstruction...
It's like you don't listen, honestly.
But that's it. If I show one example of bottom-up obstruction without the surface curving, then your claim that bottom-up obstruction can only occur because of Earth's curvature is gone. Boom, poof, gone. Bye-bye.
Bingo.
What were my two explanations for how things can be
You said an inferior mirage or Earth curvature. If I show you an example of bottom-up obstruction without it being an inferior mirage or Earth curve...
No. Just without an inferior mirage.
Okay, so show me an example. Fuck it. Show me an example.
Sure, okay.
I want to see it.
Give me a sec.
I'm tired of this, Geo. I'm gonna go to bed after this.
What time is it there? Well, you're in Central,
it's
aren't you?
2:30 for me. I gotta get to the gym in the morning and work and shit, but it's
I've
just
been to the gym
it's
14
very
times,
simple.
Jeremy.
Like I'm willing to look at other points but you guys have to admit that bottom-up obstruction is a weak argument.
Hang on. Where is it?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're exactly right. Because they would have to just basically concede and say, you know what? Yeah, that completely can happen on a planar surface, etc. They're with very simply, reproducible conditions. Therefore, it's now not exclusive to the globe at all. Like no exclusivity.
I think your logic is fundamentally broken. Like I don't
So
understand how you don't get the logic.
it now just means that all they have is an explanation and not really proof for anything.
All right, so let me just run through the logic as if you're 5 years old, right? There are two
Oh, wait, can we do it for like at least 7 or 8?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. All right, so there are two explanations for bottom-up obstruction. One of them is Earth curve. The other possibility is an inferior mirage, so upwardly bending light. If I show you an observation of bottom-up obstruction that does not have upwardly bending light, inferior mirage, guess what the only remaining possibility is? Seriously.
Wait a second. How do you know that's not a superior mirage?
There's no upside down image. There's no mirage in that photo.
Yeah, you're just saying if you accept my premise, then my premise.
There's no superior mirage either.
To be fair to your statement, how do you know that's not a superior mirage?
A superior mirage is an upside down image of something that appears above the erect image.
And what's an inferior mirage? Clarify.
An upside down image that appears below the erect.
Okay.
Erect.
So you're claiming that the bottom-up obstruction that was shown in Pebbles, God, I cannot. What is it? Pebbles on the
pond.
Pebbles on the pond. You're claiming that is an inferior mirage. So what you're saying is that the lights are actually being flipped upside down in that video?
Well, the path of the light is hitting above the lights. Yeah, I'll draw it. Hold on.
Hold on.
Let's go to paint.
Let's go to that video. Let's see if it's flipped upside down.
Hang on. Let's go.
I got it.
Paint.
No, there's basically just a red light on the left and a green light on the right. And as the temperature changes, like the green light is lower, and so the red light's a little higher. And when the temperature comes in, that's really only a short cut of it. It'd be nice. I'd have to see. I don't know that his video. I don't think his channel is still up anymore. So, it's kind of a question. I think I could probably dig and look into stuff I have to find the full one somewhere. But that's kind of one of the things that should be on a watch list for people to find and clip and grab.
You should be
some
on a
of
watch
these
list.
videos. What?
I said you should be on a watch list. Never mind.
Anyways, but it shows how there's a red light on the left, a green light on the right, and then as the temperature changes, that green light disappears entirely and it cuts off from the bottom up. So it's because the green light is a little bit lower. So it's the one that's closest to the ground, even though before the temperature change, you could see it clearly. Before the temperature change, you could just see the whole thing lit up clearly.
Oh, Jin, you're in the robot world.
2 hours nearly.
Oh, sorry, Pumpkin. I'll promise to go in 5 minutes. How about that?
I'll beat you to it.
You gotta go to bed, don't you?
Yeah, I gotta go to bed.
And you see my screen?